If aliens landed tomorrow, we would look to the sky. We wouldn't look underwater. And that might be our mistake. Because one of the strangest intelligences on Earth isn't found in the air or on land. It's hiding in coral reefs. With 3 hearts, blue blood, and arms that think for themselves. Octopuses are not just smart. They are wrong. Wrong in the most unsettling way possible. They solve puzzles. They open child-proof containers. They escape sealed tanks. They recognize individual humans. They plan, but they are not mammals. They are not birds. They are not even vertebrates. They are mollusks, relatives of clams. That alone should bother you. Because for a long time, we believed intelligence followed a pattern. Big brain, social structure, long childhood, cooperation. Dolphins, primates, crows. Complex societies produce complex minds. That was the rule. Then the octopus ignored it. An octopus lives alone. It does not raise its young. It does not form social bonds. It does not build communities. In fact, after laying eggs, the female starves herself guarding them and dies. No culture, no teaching, no inherited knowledge. And yet, intelligence, not simple reflexes, not instinct alone, but problem solving, curiosity, exploration. There's a clip that changed how scientists think about them. An octopus was filmed walking across the ocean floor, carrying 2 coconut shells. At first glance, it looks ridiculous, like a creature dragging trash. But it wasn't random. It was preparation. When danger approached, the octopus assembled the shells into a protective shelter and hid inside. It carried tools. For later, that means something profound. It means it did something inconvenient now, for a benefit that hadn't happened yet. That's foresight. And foresight was supposed to be rare. But that's just the beginning. Octopuses have escaped aquariums in the middle of the night, slithered across dry floors, opened neighboring tanks, eaten fish, and returned before morning. They unscrew jars from the inside. They squirt water at lights to shut them off. They steal objects from divers. Not always for survival. Sometimes, it looks like curiosity. And here's where things become unsettling. Intelligence evolved twice on Earth. Once in vertebrates, and once, separately, in cephalopods. 600 million years ago, our evolutionary paths split. Since then, we built skeletons and centralized brains. They built something else. Something decentralized. Something alien. Because an octopus does not think the way we do. It does not have one command center controlling everything. It has a brain, yes, but most of its neurons aren't in it. They're in the arms. Each arm contains clusters of neurons capable of independent processing, independent action, independent decision-making. Cut off an arm, and it will still react to touch, still grip, still recoil, still explore, not reflexively, but purposefully. Imagine if your hands could think, if each finger could taste what it touched, if your arm could decide how to move without asking your brain. That's not metaphor. That's anatomy. Every sucker on an octopus arm contains chemical receptors. When it touches something, it doesn't just feel it. It tastes it. Texture and chemistry arrive together. The world is sampled through contact. The arms are constantly exploring, testing, mapping. And this architecture makes sense. Because octopuses hunt in tight spaces. They reach into cracks, under rocks, inside holes they cannot see. If every movement had to wait for central processing, they would hesitate. And hesitation underwater can mean death. So evolution distributed the thinking. Strategy in the brain, tactics in the arms. Even their eyes are strange. They have camera-style eyes like ours. Lens, iris, retina. But without our design flaw. Humans have a blind spot because our optic nerve passes through the retina. Octopuses don't. Their wiring is cleaner, more efficient. 600 million years apart, and evolution solved the same problem twice, separately. But then comes the paradox. Octopuses are almost certainly colorblind, and yet, they perform the most advanced camouflage on Earth. They don't just change color, they change texture. They raise their skin into spikes, flatten it like sand, ripple it like coral, match contrast in milliseconds. How? There is evidence their skin itself may sense light, that their bodies may detect environmental cues directly, not just through vision, but through distributed perception. Imagine perceiving through your skin. Imagine your body responding before conscious thought. That's not science fiction. That's a working hypothesis, which raises a disturbing possibility. What does the world feel like to them? We experience reality through centralized awareness. Sight funnels into thought. Thought directs movement. But an octopus may experience something entirely different. A world of simultaneous sensation. Taste, touch, light processing happening across 8 limbs at once. A body that blends into its surroundings so completely, the boundary between self and environment blurs. And if intelligence can emerge like this, without society, without language, without long lifespans, then maybe our definition of intelligence has been too narrow. Maybe intelligence is not about social complexity. Maybe it's about environmental pressure. Octopuses are soft-bodied, no shell, no armor, surrounded by predators, living in structurally complex habitats, reefs, rocks, kelp forests. To survive, they must solve problems constantly. Crabs require cracking, fish require speed, bivalves require patience. Each prey demands a different strategy. The ocean forced adaptability, and adaptability became cognition. This is not a fluke. This is evolution doing what it always does, finding solutions. But the solution it found here feels unfamiliar, almost foreign, because octopus intelligence doesn't mirror ours. It diverges from it, and that divergence forces a bigger question. If intelligence can evolve in such a radically different way on Earth, what might it look like elsewhere? In the next part, we go deeper, into camouflage that rewrites biology, into nervous systems that challenge the idea of self, and into the unsettling question of whether an octopus is aware, in a way we cannot comprehend. If you want to understand how strange an octopus is, you have to stop imagining it as an animal with arms, and start imagining it as arms with an animal attached. Because nearly 2/3 of its neurons are not in its brain, they're in its limbs. Let that sink in. If you have 100 million neurons, only about 1/3 sit in the central brain. The rest are distributed. Each arm contains neural clusters capable of processing information locally, not just relaying it, processing it. When an octopus reaches into a crevice, something remarkable happens. The arm doesn't wait for instructions. It explores independently. Each sucker touches, tastes, evaluates. If it finds prey, it can begin to grip and manipulate before the brain has fully decided anything. It's not a puppet. It's semi-autonomous. The brain suggests direction. The arms handle reality. And this isn't theoretical. In laboratory conditions, detached octopus arms have continued to respond to stimuli. They recoil from unpleasant textures. They grip objects. They behave in ways that suggest localized processing. No central command. No master control. Just distributed intelligence still functioning. Now imagine what that means for awareness. Where is the self located? Is it in the brain? Is it partially in the arms? Is it everywhere? Humans experience consciousness as centralized. We think, then we act. An octopus may experience something closer to parallel awareness. 8 limbs sampling the world at once. 8 streams of sensory data. Thousands of suckers constantly tasting chemical information. A body that is thinking in multiple places simultaneously. We struggle to even imagine that. And then there's camouflage, which is not just color change. It's transformation. Octopus skin contains pigment sacs called chromatophores, each one controlled by tiny muscles. When those muscles contract, color expands. When they relax, it disappears. Thousands of these fire at once. Milliseconds. But beneath those pigment cells are layers that reflect light. And beneath that, muscles that raise the skin into 3-dimensional shapes. Spikes, ridges, bumps. An octopus doesn't just match the color of coral. It becomes coral. Texture and tone shift together. And here's the unsettling part. The change is almost instantaneous. Faster than conscious decision-making would normally allow. So what's happening? Is it deliberate? Or is it automated? The answer appears to be both. Higher-level choice may select the pattern, but execution is distributed, handled locally. Again, arms and skin doing work without waiting. Now consider vision. Octopus eyes evolved separately from ours. 600 million years of independent design, yet they ended up with camera-like eyes. Lens, iris, retina, convergent evolution. 2 completely different lineages solving the same problem. But octopuses avoided our structural flaw. No blind spot. Their photoreceptors face the light directly. Clean wiring. Better engineering. But here's the paradox. They likely cannot see color the way we do. Most evidence suggests they are functionally colorblind. And yet, They match color perfectly. How? One hypothesis suggests their skin contains light-sensitive proteins, opsins, the same molecules used in eyes. That means their skin may detect light directly. They may not see color in the traditional sense. Their body might sense it, respond to it, without routing everything through a visual cortex. Perception without centralized interpretation. Now pause, because this changes something fundamental. We tend to believe intelligence requires internal representation. You see the world. Your brain builds a model. You act based on that model. But an octopus may not need that same internal mapping. It may operate through embodied cognition, thinking through contact, responding through sensation, adapting in real time. And then there's behavior that can't be explained by reflex alone. Octopuses recognize individual humans. They react differently to caretakers. Some they tolerate, some they dislike. That requires memory, identity tracking, associative learning. They've been observed unscrewing jars from the inside, solving multi-step puzzles, navigating mazes, learning by observation. In controlled experiments, octopuses that watched others solve a problem completed it faster than those that didn't. Observational learning. In a solitary species, that's rare. And then there's play. Play is evolutionarily expensive. It burns energy. It has no immediate payoff. And yet intelligent animals do it. Octopuses have been observed repeatedly bouncing objects, manipulating floating debris, interacting with items in ways that appear exploratory rather than purely survival-driven. Curiosity, which is difficult to explain as simple instinct. And remember, they live alone. They do not build societies. They do not teach offspring. They do not cooperate. Their intelligence evolved without social complexity. That contradicts one of our deepest assumptions. We believed big brains required big societies. But octopuses evolved complexity because of environmental pressure. They are soft-bodied, no shell, no protection, surrounded by predators, living in structurally complex habitats, reefs, rocky coasts, kelp forests. Every day presents new challenges, different prey, different hiding spots, different threats. The environment forced adaptability, and adaptability became intelligence. So now we face a question. If intelligence can evolve in isolation, if it can distribute itself across limbs, if it can perceive through skin, then what exactly is intelligence? Is it centralized thought? Is it social coordination? Or is it simply the ability to solve problems under pressure? Because if that's the case, then intelligence is not rare. It's inevitable. In the next part, we confront the most unsettling idea of all: consciousness. Does an octopus experience the world in a way we cannot comprehend? And if so, what does that say about how many kinds of minds might exist? Not in space, but here, on Earth. Good. Now we step into the part that makes people uncomfortable. Not biology, not mechanics, but awareness. The alien intelligence living in our oceans, a consciousness unlike ours for most of human history. We ranked minds in a hierarchy. Humans at the top, then mammals, then birds, then everything else. Intelligence meant language, culture, tools, society. But the octopus doesn't fit. And when something doesn't fit, it forces us to ask better questions. What does it feel like to be an octopus? That isn't poetry. It's a serious scientific problem. Because awareness depends on how information flows. And in an octopus, information flows differently. There is no spinal cord relaying everything upward. There is no strict chain of command. Instead, there is distribution, parallel processing, arms acting semi-independently, skin reacting to light, suckers tasting the world directly. Imagine existing as a decentralized field of sensation, your body constantly sampling, responding, adjusting, without a clear boundary between thinking and doing. When an octopus camouflages itself against coral, it does not simply paint itself a color. It reshapes, texture rises, pigment expands, contrast shifts, all in milliseconds. Is that conscious decision? Or is it something deeper, an embodied response happening faster than awareness? We don't know, and that uncertainty matters, because intelligence is not just about solving puzzles. It's about internal experience. Octopuses display individual personalities. Some are bold, some are cautious, some are curious, some are reclusive. In lab environments, certain individuals explore relentlessly, others hide immediately. That variation suggests more than instinct. It suggests temperament, which suggests individuality. They remember. They differentiate between people. They adapt strategies. In controlled experiments, they've learned to navigate mazes, open containers, and even solve tasks requiring multiple steps in sequence. Not by brute repetition, but by modification, trial, error, adjustment, learning. And yet, their lives are short. Most species live only 1 to 2 years. There is no generational transfer of knowledge. No parents teaching young. Each mind emerges, learns, adapts, then disappears. Intelligence that evolves without cultural accumulation. That's almost tragic, but it's also extraordinary. And here's the part that unsettles researchers the most. In 2012, a group of neuroscientists signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. They stated that evidence suggests many non-human animals possess the neurological substrates of consciousness. Cephalopods, including octopuses, were explicitly included. That was not symbolic. That was scientific, meaning there is strong evidence that octopuses are not just reactive machines. They likely experience, not like us, but experience nonetheless. Now consider the evolutionary timeline. 600 million years ago, our lineage and theirs split. Everything that followed happened independently. Their intelligence evolved separately. Their nervous system architecture evolved separately. Their perception evolved separately. And yet, complex cognition still emerged. That suggests something powerful. Intelligence is not a fluke. It's a solution. When environments become complex enough, when survival demands flexibility, minds appear, even if those minds look nothing like ours. For decades, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence assumed alien minds would resemble human ones. Technological, communicative, social. But if Earth itself produced 2 radically different intelligences, why assume the universe would produce ours? Perhaps alien intelligence would not speak, not build cities, not send signals. Perhaps it would camouflage, taste the world through skin, think through limbs, experience reality in distributed fragments. Perhaps we wouldn't recognize it at all. There's a concept in biology called umwelt. It means the perceptual world unique to each organism. A bee's umwelt is ultraviolet patterns and floral signals. A bat's umwelt is echoes. A human's is color, language, abstraction. An octopus's umwelt, chemotactile gradients. Polarized light, simultaneous limb sensation. A constantly shifting boundary between body and environment. That is not just a different perspective, it's a different reality. So did the octopus break evolution's rules? No, it broke our assumptions. We assumed intelligence required society. It doesn't. We assumed it required centralized control. It doesn't. We assumed it required long life and cultural inheritance. It doesn't. Evolution does not follow our expectations. It follows pressure, constraint, opportunity, and given enough complexity, it produces minds. The octopus is not an anomaly. It is proof. Proof that intelligence is not owned by mammals. Proof that consciousness may arise in architectures we struggle to imagine. Proof that alien minds are not hypothetical. They already exist. They are soft-bodied, short-lived, curious, and watching us through unblinking eyes beneath the sea. And perhaps the most unsettling thought of all, if intelligence can emerge in such radically different forms on one planet, how many kinds of minds might the universe contain? And how many would we fail to recognize? If this changed the way you see life on Earth, subscribe to Chronicles of the Past, because sometimes the most alien intelligence is not above us, it's underwater.